Stop blaming your genetics for your lack of strength gain. That is something that people have to do. And yes, I'm not saying genetics don't matter. We know they matter. And I'm definitely not saying that genetics don't affect the shape and structure of your physique, because we know that it does. Right? We know that the bodybuilding world, for example, we're not talking about the strength world, we know that the bodybuilding world is purely a test of, number one, genetics and who can put the most drugs into their body without dying. That is basically all bodybuilding is. Okay? So genetics play a massive role in both of those. But when it comes to strength, genetics do not play as big of a role as people think they do for 90% of lifters. I'm not talking about the outliers. Right? We're not talking about the outliers. You want to know what genetics are going to affect in terms of strength? Number one, how many years it'll take you to reach your goals. And number two, what sort of weight class you're going to be forced into. Right? So in other words, absolute strength is different. You want to know who's going to have the best absolute strength? Usually going to be a guy who's 6'4" with a massive frame. Yes, that guy's going to have the biggest squat and bench press. Particularly the bench press. Particularly the bench press. Better look at every guy who benches anything over 650 pounds raw. But when it comes to relative strength, that's a little bit different. And when it comes down to things like guys saying, I can't bench 225 because of my genetics. No, you can't bench 500 because of your genetics. Okay? If you don't have the genetic gifts, you're never going to bench 500. That's a reasonable statement. That's a reasonable statement. But with a guy with terrible, quote-unquote, terrible genetics for size and strength can probably get to a 300 bench. Perfectly reasonable. It's going to take you a while. It's going to take you a while. But it can be done. And what do we mean by terrible genetics? Really small frame. Fairly long arms. Right? That's what we mean there. Or a guy who's really, really short, so his absolute strength is going to be lower. So here's the problem with people doing this. And there have been studies done on this. And no, I don't have them handy. And no, I don't link studies anyways, because the only strike I've ever gotten on this channel, I've had to get them all overturned. Actually, I've got 6 different strikes for linking studies on this channel. I don't link studies. You guys can Google this stuff. I'm not risking my channel. I don't know why. This is the only thing that has ever been a rules violation for me in YouTube. And it's only this channel, really. I haven't had anyone else have this problem, but I've had to have them overturned as their automated system caught it every time. But I don't link studies here. You guys have access to Google just like I do. You can find any study you want. There have been studies looking at this, and you know what they found when it came to lifters and strength gain? That if they took new lifters and they broke them into 2 groups, and the coach told one group that they had really good genetics, now randomly selected guys, they tell one group that they have really good genetics for strength starting at day 1, that they assessed it, and they tell the other group that their genetics were below average for gaining muscle and strength. When these people were told this by a coach, by an authority, what do you think happened? Shouldn't be hard to figure out with the way that we self-program. Guys who were told that they had good genetics gained the most strength and muscle. Not because they did, but because they were told that they did. They were told that they did by an authority. Same thing with the guys who were told they had bad genetics. Some of them couldn't make any progress at all. All right, these were randomly selected people. The guys who were told that they had bad genetics believed it because they were told it by an authority. Now, some people will say, well, Jason, haven't you jokingly said that you have the worst genetics in YouTube fitness? That's actually a joke. I'm not serious. And I'm using that to market because other people said it. So therefore, if I'm stronger than other people, then I can use that to make money. Okay, I'm actually not serious. It's a marketing ploy. I'm just repeating what other people have said and then using it to my advantage. It's not actually true, right? I know it's not true. You guys know it's not true. But it's hilarious because other people have said it about me, and therefore, you know, we run with it. Now, the truth is, if you can squat over 500 and deadlift 600 in your 40s, you probably don't have exactly bad genetics for strength. Let's be realistic. I hit a 225 squat the first time I ever did a squat, my first day in the gym. I could only bench 65 pounds, though. So, over to the point there, that's just in fun. I don't actually believe it. I actually convince myself with mantras otherwise. Why? Because we know the data suggests that even if you don't have great genetics, if you lie to yourself, you'll get better gains. This is a case of where actually being honest with yourself will hurt you. It is actually to your benefit as an athlete and as a lifter to be completely delusional. Not what I'm saying, it's what the research shows. Okay? That's what the research shows. And me personally as a coach, I'm not going to get into my details. No, I don't tell my lifters that they all have good genetics. I have a couple lifters who have phenomenal genetics. But they know it already. Okay, they already know that they do. I don't really have to tell them that. I do use that though. Anytime they try to make excuses, I bring that point up. Do I have some lifters who have somewhat bad genetics for strength? Maybe. But you know what? My guy with the worst genetics for strength, still squats over 300 pounds. Okay? I want you guys to put that in perspective. And I know his genetics are terrible for strength. I've assessed his structure. I've assessed his musculature, muscle fiber distribution. The worst one I have. Okay. He's closing in on a 400 deadlift now. He can squat over 300 pounds. He can bench over 200 pounds. My worst genetic client. I don't tell him he has the worst genetics. He doesn't know that. I know that he does. So here's my point. Here's my point. You guys should be lying to yourselves, because I saw a bunch of this come up. We've discussed stuff of talking about guys with this. Not only did I have people in the comments say, oh, I've got terrible strength and I've got tiny, that's why I can't bench. One of my clients who benches over 225, by the way, saw that video and said, this just confirms to me that I have bad genetics. No, he's an under-eater. He has a very low BMI. He has a very low BMI. It's hard to get him to eat. It's hard to get him to not obsess over his body fat due to body image disorder. But he still benches over 225. He struggles because he won't eat, historically. But he saw that and said, oh, I've got bad genetics from that video. And I'm like, no, you don't. You don't eat enough. You don't eat enough. I saw all in the comments section guys saying, yeah, this describes me. I just don't have good bench genetics. That's why I can't gain bench strength. All right? You guys have basically, when you say things like that, you have programmed yourself to be weak. If you literally just lied to yourself, your bench would go up. Like if the same guys who stand there and say, oh, I just have bad upper body strength genetics. No. No, you don't. You're convincing yourself you are. And by convincing yourself, it will make you lazy and it will cause you to make mistakes. Okay? It's called self-sabotage. It's called self-sabotage. Just like we can sabotage lifters by what their coach tells them starting early in the gym, you can set someone's entire career for that. Set someone's entire career for that. And that's why I don't listen to nonsense that people say. I don't listen to nonsense people say about me. I self-program myself and tell myself the opposite. Because we know that works. We know it works. We've got research on it. You guys should be doing the same thing too. You should actually have a higher level of confidence. Because what happens is that when you believe that you don't have the potential, even if you have amazing genetics, you're not going to make progress. Okay, that's purely what it comes down to. And if you believe that you have the most potential, you're going to work harder, you're going to rest better, you're going to do the things that you need to do to reach your goals. The people who convince themselves that they don't have the ability, they will self-sabotage subconsciously in a large variety of ways. It could be lack of effort. It could be focused on the wrong exercises. It could be doing dumb things in the gym and with their lifestyle that will sabotage them because they don't believe that they have the ability. Right? The human mind is an amazing thing. So all of you guys who are using your genetics as an excuse, no, genetics are going to be an excuse of why you might get stuck in a certain weight class for strength purposes. Right? You just don't have a big enough frame to stack enough muscle on, but you can still maximize on what you have. Maximize on what you have. There are some pretty strong guys out there who you guys think of who are strong who have horrifically bad genetics for strength and muscle mass, obviously, due to their frame, their muscle insertions, but their relative strength is really, really good because they just maximize on what they have. They'll never have a 500 bench. They'll never have a 600 squat, 700 squat, because of their genetics. They just maximize on what they have. And then all you guys scream about, oh man, that guy, how's he so strong for his size? Exactly. All right, guys, well, that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.